if you're new to me or if you've been with me before, I always say to make sure you have some props nearby. So those props can be yoga props. They can be bolsters and pillows and blankets, or they can be like a couch pillow or a towel or a blanket, or a sweatshirt, kind of anything that's nearby. And then just think of the props as anything to support your body in your practice today. So we use the props to just fill space so that way our bodies can let go a little bit more. So we'll start seated today. So you can always sit up on a pillow or a blanket. And as we come into this first shape, you can do anything you want with your legs today. As we just start to settle in, it doesn't really matter where your legs are at, if they're crossed, if they're out in front of you. You're just starting to find yourself in a comfortable seat. Feel free to move around a little bit when you first arrive. And if it feels okay, you can begin to close your eyes or just soften your gaze. I'm just going to take a few moments here to settle in. Relax the shoulders away from the ears. Relax the jaw. You can always have some props underneath the knees or the legs for added support. And just start to tune in to your body and your breath. And as we move through our practice today, if I offer something that your body is not feeling today, I'll always give modifications, but always feel free to just take something completely different. If just sitting is more comfortable, if laying on your side or your back is more comfortable for those moments, feel free to ignore me and listen to your body. Couple more breaths here, just settling in. We're only going to move through a handful of poses today. So our intention is just to allow gravity to hold our bodies into the shapes we create. To tune in with our breath. Just be a little curious and mindful about what's going on. And just finding your last breath here. So you're welcome to keep your eyes closed or your gaze soft. Or if you feel more comfortable, you can always keep them open. But you'll go ahead and find your right leg straight and then bend your left leg. So whether you started with the cross-legged or you started with the legs out in front of you, you're going to keep your left foot in and let your right leg come out long. We're not trying to go really wide, but we're also not trying to stay super narrow. So think maybe like a little wider than the hips. And it doesn't matter how close your left foot is to your leg. And feel free to slide something underneath your left knee if you feel like the leg is working really hard to keep it lifted. And you can also put something underneath the knee. Sometimes the backs of my legs are feeling so tight that I just need a little extra support. And start to turn your torso towards the left. So you're turning towards the bent leg. We're not going to fold towards the bent leg though. We're going to lean to the right. So you might just kind of let the arm rest on the leg. You can even add some props underneath the arm, something to lean on. You can get creative with it and kind of like make a little teepee here. But I just want you to focus on kind of leaning over to the right. And you might even get to the point where you rest your head in your hand. You can do whatever you want with the left arm. You can keep your gaze neutral. We're not necessarily trying to turn the head one way or the other, unless it feels okay to just start to turn your gaze up over the left a little bit. Just creating some length in the left side body. If as we continue to hold here, you feel like you're sinking into the right side, as long as it's feeling okay, you can just kind of let that happen. As long as you're feeling stable. Allow your breath to hold you in the shape. If you feel like you're working really hard to stay here, maybe you add a little bit more support or even just come out of it a little bit. Because sometimes our arm slides because we have more space, and sometimes it slides just because it slides. A little while longer here. Last breath. Like you're moving in slow motion. You can slowly bring your upper body all the way up, maybe turn it back to center. It's okay if you feel a little uneven, you probably will. And if you had a prop, just gently move it out of the way for a moment and extend your left leg. You can keep the legs a little wider. And just start to turn the torso towards the right. But just think like you're rinsing out the spine a bit. And start to come back to the middle. We're not going to hold that one, just a little twist. And start to bend your right leg. So when you first arrive, again, just kind of check in, see if you need any extra support on this side. If you took it on the other side, it doesn't necessarily mean you need it on this side. Just like if you didn't take it on the first side, doesn't necessarily mean you don't need it on this side. So just like we did before, think the leg is a little wide, not crazy wide, but not too narrow because you want to have space to lean. Right foot can be really close, really far away, really tight, really wide. And you'll just start to turn the torso a little bit towards the right. And then start to lean to the left. Might feel a little extra crunchy as you come to the left side and stretch out the right, just because we were so compressed on that right side a few moments ago. And again, you can add any props here underneath the arm. I really just kind of want you to find a place where you can let the head be a little heavy. Your body is just leaning over to the side. Feel as if you're trying to create just a little more space in the right side of your body. Using your breath to hold you. If at any point throughout our holds today you find yourself getting distracted either by the body or anything going on around you, I always invite you to just notice your next breath. They're a great tool to just bring you into the present. A little while longer here. Maybe you just allow your body to get a little deeper, even just like a centimeter more. Just changes the sensation of the stretch. Last breath here. Nice and slow. Start to lift your torso up. A little rotation back to the middle. You got any props, just gently move them out of the way. Just like we did before, go ahead and extend your legs. Let's just take a little rotation to the left. And come back to the center. We've been sitting for a little bit, so if it feels good to kind of just like wiggle the butt a little, almost feel like you're lifting up, feel free to do that. Or if you're on a blanket, or if you're not on a blanket and you want to add one, we're going to do one more shape in a seated position. So I just want your body to feel comfortable and okay for it. Legs wide, doesn't matter how wide it is. You can add some props underneath the legs, like behind the knees is a really nice spot. We're gonna lean forward. So you can use more props underneath the arms again. You can stack pillows or blankets, or you can even just kind of put it in front of you a little bit and even just like roll the upper body over it. This is also really nice. So not getting too overwhelmed by all the things you can add to it. I usually say just start to lean a little bit, take a moment, and then if you're feeling like something's missing, go ahead and take one of your props and just go with that first instinct. Relax the feet and the toes. So think that your intention here is to create length in the back body. You feel yourself falling a little bit more forward as we stay here. Feel free to let your body do that if that's feeling good. If your hips and your booty start to come off the ground, though, I do recommend just pulling yourself back a little bit because I don't want you to actually fall forward. Little while longer here. 2 more breaths here, wherever you're at. Nice and slow. Start to bring yourself up. And gently move some props out of the way. Maybe shake the legs. Anything you need to rinse out, and we'll start to make our way towards a tabletop position on our hands and our knees. We're not going to stay there. Just find a few cat-cows before we move on to the next. So you always know with me, if being on your palms is not comfortable, feel free to drop onto your forearms. We're just moving the torso a little bit so you can round the spine. And then pull the heart forward. And this is just as good whether you're on your forearms or your palms. Just a little movement of the spine, releasing, sitting. You can pause a little bit longer in one than the other if that's feeling really good in your body here. We're going to make our way all the way on to our bellies. So coming all the way to lay down on your belly. And actually, when you first get there, just make a pillow with your hands. And you might rock your hips a little bit. Take a moment to adjust from being seated to now just being the total opposite of laying on your belly. Taking a couple of breaths here. Letting your head be heavy. And begin to make your way up onto your forearms. Coming into that nice Sphinx pose. Your elbows are about underneath your shoulders, but if you want a little less bend in the back, you can always walk your elbows a little bit forward, but just be mindful how far forward you go. I don't want you to feel like your head is falling. And then start to find a comfortable position with the neck. So it could be looking straight forward. It could be more neutral, which for me, when I'm neutral, my gaze is kind of at my thumbs. Or your head could be heavy, and that's bringing my gaze towards the elbows. Connecting to your breath. So we've worked on the sides of our ribs, the back of our ribs. Now just finding a little bit towards the front of our ribs. Even added a little rotation in the spine. Just one more breath here. And start to bring your upper body all the way back down. You can make a pillow with your hands once again. We're going to find our way back towards that Sphinx pose. But this time I want you to find a prop in front of you. So it can be a pillow or a blanket. You might have to get a little creative with it, but I want you to be able to bring your forehead to that prop. So if you have a block, actually a block is a great option. Or if you have a pillow, I'm just going to kind of let that pillow lie flat. And I'm just going to bring my forehead to the pillow. So my arms are going to be working a little harder, but I want my head just to have a support. And I might even bring my hands underneath the pillow. My pillow is a little flat, more flat than I want it to be. So I just want to add a little bit of height. But as I do that, I don't want my shoulders to come with me. I want to feel like they're pushing back. Really subtle movements. And then just allow my body to pause here. Few more rounds of breath here. Finishing your next round of breath. And nice and slow, Start to lift your head up so you can move the prop out of the way and let your whole upper body come down. So we'll start to make our way onto our back. So I'm going to give you two options to get there. You can start to roll to one side from your belly, pause, and then just keep rolling until you're on your back. Or you can come up through a tabletop, move the spine around a bit, and then come to lay all the way on your back. I'll give you a few moments, whatever you decide to do. There's no rush. I always like to pause in each position, whichever one I choose. You can have your props nearby. It's okay if you're not there yet. When you first arrive on your back, anything you need, if you need a little movement, you need to just take a deep stretch like you just woke up. All of those options are perfect. But as you find your way on your back, you'll start to place the feet on the floor. So the knees are pointing up to the sky. And just pause here. You can bring your hands wherever is comfortable. Do 2 more breaths. Just settling in here. So finding one of your props, some pillow or a blanket, start to press into your feet. I just move mine the other way so you can see. Press into the feet, lift the hips so you can slide the prop underneath your hips. So know that that's where we're going to go. So you'll kind of play with the thickness of the prop you chose. It doesn't matter if it's an inch elevated or 6 inches. Just finding this nice supported bridge pose. And pausing here. And start to straighten your left leg out on the floor in front of you. Just your left leg. If it feels like too much pressure in the lower back with your hips elevated and straightening the leg, you could always change what you have underneath your hips so you have something thinner, or you could always take the prop underneath your hips out and just focus on extending the leg. the intention is to find a little bit of release on the front of the hip flexor. And a lot can happen just by straightening the leg, even if there's no extra extension. Tuning in with your breath. Last 2 breaths on this side. And nice and slow, start to bend your left leg. Even if your hips are still elevated, you might do just kind of a gentle pelvic tilt. Just feel like you're trying to hug your belly button into your spine. A little length of the low back. We'll come right into the other side, so go ahead and extend your right leg long. And be mindful of any differences in the sides. You might change the elevation on your hips for this side. It's okay if their sides are a little different and you take different support. Almost there. Last 2 breaths. Nice and slow, start to bring the right foot back onto the floor. Go ahead and remove that prop if you still have a prop underneath the hips. You can rock your knees a little bit from side to side. And start to hug your knees into your chest. Rock side to side there. And let the knees drop all the way over to the right. So you can always throw the prop underneath the knees here. Allow the shoulders to stay heavy on the ground. Couple more breaths here. Bring your knees all the way back to the middle. And let them drop to the other side. You can always use your hand to hold the knees down. Last couple breaths. And then bring the knees all the way up to center. You can hug your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little squeeze. You might even take the knees a little wide for a moment. And start to extend the legs long. Reach your arms up overhead. Take a full body stretch. And you can let the arms stay up overhead or Y, or into like a Y or a T. Let your legs stay out in front of you just for a couple of breaths here. And then you are welcome to stay just like that, if that's feeling really good for you today. Or you can let your arms come by your side. Maybe slide something underneath your legs. We're setting ourselves up for our final Shavasana. You can always come on to your side, coming into a fetal position. You can throw your legs up a wall or a chair or a couch. Finding a place where you can pause. Or you can be in a gratitude for your practice. Shavasana. Starting to bring some awareness back into the space. Beginning to notice your next breath. Starting to invite some movement back into the body. Wiggling your fingers and your toes. Rolling out wrists and ankles. And rocking your head from side to side. Beginning to make your way onto your side if you were on your back. And slowly starting to make your way up into a comfortable seat. Keeping your focus inside. And bringing your hands into your heart center. Gently bowing your head. Thanking yourself for making it to your mat today, for your practice, for your energy, for your breath, and most importantly, for yourself. Namaste.